Hey everybody, this is Dr. Holcomb. In this video, I'm going to go over the syllabus. It might be a two-part video. The screen capture software I use only allows me to record videos of 15 minutes. So I'll let you know by the end of, I guess, about 14:59 if this is going to be a two-part video. This is the syllabus. This class is English 102, Rhetoric and Composition. There's my personal information at the top, my name, my office location. That's Humanities Office Building. It's right behind the colloquium if you're here on campus. And my office hours, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 2:30 to 3:30 or by appointment. And virtual office hours are the same, which means I'll be close to my computer, and if you have questions you want to send to me via email, then that's a good time to catch me. There's my email address, and that's my office phone. Let's see, I'm going to read some of this, and I'm just going to talk through some of this. It's not going to be the most exciting video you've ever seen, but the information it contains is fairly crucial. So let's get started. Catalog description, you guys can read that on your own. I will note that this does fulfill two Carolina core requirements. The written communication one, the CMW, and the information literacy requirement. Now this course, I don't know if you've all taken 101 here or if you haven't. You should still be prepared to begin work in 102. But English 102 builds on English 101 to prepare you for the writing you will do in future college courses and beyond. While English 101 honed your ability to read critically and closely analyze particular text, English 102 emphasizes helping you to write well-reasoned, argumentative papers that draw upon multiple sources and viewpoints. Research is going to be a big part of this class. During the semester, you will learn to identify the elements of an effective argument and then apply those principles in composing researched essays about academic and public issues. This course will also strengthen your information literacy skills by teaching you strategies for finding, assessing, using, citing, and documenting source materials. We will also discuss basic principles of academic integrity. We'll talk more about that in a minute. You will learn these skills not by listening to me lecture about them, but through frequent intensive practice. By the end of the term, you should feel more confident about your ability to research and write about challenging topics responsibly and articulately. This next section addresses the subject of this being a 100% online class. I think it's worth reading, so I'm going to read it. If this is your first online class in college, I want to emphasize one key point you will need to understand from the beginning. Many students believe that since you do not have to be in class at a certain time, that an online class will be easier than a traditional face-to-face class. Actually, the opposite is true. An online class offers you greater flexibility than a traditional class, but it requires much greater responsibility, organization, and motivation on your part in compensation for that flexibility. As with your other classes, there is a weekly schedule of readings, assignments, deadlines, but you are required to keep yourself on top of them all by frequently logging onto the course, completing tasks and assignments on time, and not falling behind. I'm here to help you and encourage you along the way, but be aware from the outset that you will need to put a great deal of time and effort into this class in order to be successful. So think about it. Maybe this class isn't for you. Maybe you do better in a more structured environment. If that's your sort of where your strengths lie, then maybe you want to try a traditional classroom. But if you feel pretty confident about your motivation, your own sort of self-discipline, then, here you are. Let's go forward. Learning outcomes. You guys can read through these. We'll talk about these again throughout the semester. Required text. These should all be available at the Student Union bookstore. Let's see, the Carolina Rhetoric, They Say, I Say, and the Little Penguin Handbook, and there'll be a number of supplemental readings that I'll just post to Blackboard. The structure of the course. This class will consist of weekly modules which will typically include most or all of the following, and usually in this order: assigned readings, quizzes, short video lectures, group discussions, short films, YouTube videos. Those video lectures will often be, I haven't really decided if I'm going to use YouTube or not, or just send them to you, but the video lectures fall within that as well, and blog posts. On a larger scale, you will always be working on one of the three major the major essays throughout the course, and some of the weekly assignments will be geared toward them. It'll be we'll talk about those three big papers over the semester, and the course is designed to, a lot of your shorter writing assignments will feed into those larger essays, formal papers. Course communications. If you have questions about this course, first post your questions on the Questions About the Course discussion board forum in Blackboard. By the way, Blackboard is going to be a big integral part of this course. Most of the course content will be delivered through Blackboard. Anyone may answer your question. Each question will be answered within 24 hours if posted Monday through Friday. This discussion board will provide a way for others to see and respond to your questions and find answers to questions they may have, because often many students have the same question. These responses provide a way to give all students the same information. It's very important to use a descriptive phrase as the subject of your post. Typing help questions does not let others know what your question is about. Use a descriptive phrase such as, that should be there's a little typo. About essay 1 or need help with quiz in module 2. Here's your first little lesson in rhetoric about how to post a thread on Blackboard and titling it that you want to be informative so others can sort of know what the question is about before they click. If you have personal questions or an issue to discuss with me, please email me. I do not consistently check email on Saturday and Sunday. However, if you email me Monday through Friday, I will respond within 24 hours. This is another important point. All communications on the discussion boards and via email should be professional. Use concise and relevant subject lines to identify the nature and subject of your email, and your message should be free from grammatical and spelling errors. Text message language, abbreviations, and slang are unacceptable. They're unacceptable in this context. This is another thing that we'll discuss when we talk about rhetorical context, rhetorical situations. In some contexts, text message language, abbreviation slangs are perfectly acceptable. In fact, they're strategically wise. But in this context, we're going to define our classroom context as a professional context. And so all your discourse should be geared towards a professional demeanor. In this course, we will practice a professional mode of communication in our exchanges with each other and our fellow classmates, as well as practice conventions of formal academic writing in our written assignments. Now the assignments. The one that we're going to be working towards, the culmination of the semester, will be a final electronic portfolio, and this will be worth 40% of your grade. The portfolio will contain your information literacy practice. We call those ILPs. We'll talk more about those in a minute. Your annotated bibliography and the first and final drafts of the following projects. You must complete all three of these major projects in order to pass the class. Completing those papers means doing the draft and doing the final. We'll see how this class is going to be more specifically structured in terms of the papers, but typically you'll draft these papers along the way, and then you'll revise them and turn both the draft and the final in your portfolio at the end of the semester. So the first paper is going to be a rhetorical analysis. The second is going to be a research argumentative essay, and the third is a public turn project. This is basically an assignment in remediation, in the sense of taking a research argumentative essay in prose and remediating it, or putting it in a new medium, maybe a visual medium or audio medium, and then a portfolio cover letter. The other important point about this class is revision is pretty much the centerpiece of our writing pedagogy. You will turn in a complete typed draft of projects 1 and 2 and a proposal for project 3. That's the public turn assignment. You'll receive feedback on the draft from me and from one or more of your classmates. You'll use the feedback to revise the paper and then turn in a final version to which I'll assign a letter grade using a rubric I will provide. The grade on the final version will be based partly on the quality of your revisions. You should know that revising does not mean correcting surface errors or adding a few sentences. A revision is literally a seeing again, a rewriting of the paper based on feedback from your readers. We will discuss this and talk about revision processes, or the revision process later in the semester. The other thing is, please edit and proofread all draft and final versions before you submit them. It makes it easier for me to get through the papers, to read the papers, if I'm not continually correcting or circling typos or misplaced punctuation and stuff like that. So try to have that as the drafts, even the drafts, as clean as possible before you turn them in. The information literacy practices, this is worth 20% of your course grade. ILPs are brief, usually 2 to 3 pages, formal writing and research assignments that build your information literacy skills and knowledge. They also should be carefully edited and proofread before you submit them. Most of these are going to be geared towards that research argumentative essay. So you're going to be doing, kind of smaller tasks that are going to contribute to actually writing that essay. There's annotated bibliography. We'll talk more about that. There'll also be online quizzes and short writing assignments worth 10% of your final grade. The quizzes will be conducted through Blackboard. There'll be usually one every week. Okay, you can read that on your own. There'll be blog posts and discussion boards. The discussion board is how we're going to handle classroom discussions. It's a chance for you to interact with other students. Let me read this part right here. This paragraph right here. Participation in group discussion is a requirement and an integral part of the course. You are expected to make substantial and consistent contributions to the discussion. I will read every post, but I will not respond to every post. More details and guidelines on expectations for participating in the discussion board and how they agree will be provided. Course policies, grading. C is the lowest grade in English 1 and 2 for which you can receive credit for the course. The rest of it is a fairly standard grading, 90 to 100 is an A, and so on. Attendance. Because this class is 100% online, there is no required attendance in the usual sense. However, there will be required assignments each week with real enforced deadlines. Therefore, if an illness or other type of emergency means that you cannot turn in an assignment or otherwise keep up with the work, you will need to contact me as soon as you are able. If you will communicate with me in a timely, proactive fashion, I will work with you to make arrangements to catch up quickly on missed work. However, except for serious and documentable circumstances, missed deadlines cannot be made up or extensions granted. Keep that in mind. When the due dates are going to be hard due dates. To do otherwise would not be fair to the others in the class. Okay, I see that I'm about 13:40. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I guess there will be a part 2. So stay tuned, and I'll be back in the next video. Bye-bye.